Many times people will ask the question, do Amish people have Social Security numbers? Do they get Social Security benefits? Do they pay taxes? There's all kinds of things related to that. And the question I want to answer today is, do Amish people have Social Security numbers? And the answer to that is yes, sometimes they do. And I'd like to share those specific situations of when they do. Typically, when an English person has a baby, they will typically go to the hospital, give birth to the child, and before you leave nowadays, it hasn't always been this way, but before you leave, you actually leave with the Social Security number because you've applied for it. Many years ago, you had to wait and do that later. That was two separate things. So it's a convenience. It's nice. When an Amish person has a baby, typically it's a home birth, or they go see a midwife at a birthing center, like a small home or something like that. Small, I don't want to say hospital, but in a facility where they give birth and there's midwives there. In that situation, no, they do not leave that facility with a Social Security number. In fact, it's probably the last thing that they're thinking about. It's just not part of their birthing procedure. Later in life, when a person decides they want to get a job and they work outside sometimes of the English community, or maybe they're relating with the English community, I'll give you a couple examples in a moment, then they need a Social Security number. We have an example that two young men were trying to set up a gutter business, and one had a Social Security number because he had been working since he was 18. The other one was already close to 30, had never worked outside of the Amish community, and probably got paid cash. I don't know how that would all work, but he never had a Social Security number and had to apply for it, which became a little tricky because he didn't have a birth certificate. He had a home birth, and so he had to jump through a lot of hoops to get it. But he now runs a business, turns in his taxes, and has a Social Security number. Now, that's the other situation. They have to have a Social Security number for identification in the United States and pay their taxes. So they do. Now, since that question's been answered and you're probably curious about the taxes, I hear that a lot. And I've made another video about taxes. I'll put it above, but I'm going to still answer that since we're only, this is a short answer. They do pay taxes. They pay property taxes just like the rest of us. If they own a home, they have to pay property taxes to the community. Do they pay Social Security taxes? And the answer to that is most likely not. There is a waiver that you can sign for religious reasons. And in that waiver, you say, I'm not paying Social Security taxes, but I'm also not going to collect Social Security benefits either. So that waiver is available to all of us, not just to the Amish community. So you probably have friends that for religious reasons aren't paying Social Security taxes either because they refuse to accept the benefits. So basically, that answers your question. No, they don't pay Social Security taxes, but they do have a Social Security number, and that is their standard form of identification in the United States. Everybody in the United States is supposed to have one, whether religious or cultural backgrounds, it doesn't make any difference.